Okay, in this video we'll be talking about my Craftsman C3 tools. I don't really do reviews, so this will be kind of a first for me. I'm a Class 6 certified welder and fabricator, do a lot of metal working at work as well as at home on the weekends. So I figured I'd run through my cordless system, as well as, brief descriptions of each one, what I think of them, how they've worked out, whether or not I'd recommend buying the tool, and things like that. So we'll get started. I started my Craftsman C3 tool collection probably about 4 years ago. It happened to be a Black Friday sale. Craftsman, it was actually Kmart that had a 3/8 cordless drill, an incandescent flashlight, a NiCad battery, and a 4-hour charger. They had the whole kit. I think it was like $29, and I was in the need for buying a new set. So I ran out and just kind of bought it on a whim. I really hadn't heard of the C3 set or anything like that. After owning it for a little while and using it and liking it, I started to do a little research, and that's when I realized that there's a broad assortment of tools available that all run off the same battery. The 3/8 drill, I really like it. It's been a great little drill. The only setback really has been that it's 3/8 chuck. So if you want to drill bigger than 3/8, you either have to have shank bits or you're assed out. But it's a great drill. It really has never let me down. It's done everything I ever asked it to and exceeded, my expectations for a $30 drill. The flashlight, just an incandescent flashlight. I read reviews on everything I've bought since before I buy them, and a lot of people complain about it has a 180-degree pivoting head. And a lot of people complain about that head. They can't seem to find a use for it. Well, I can show you what I use it for, basically. The thing I like about the pivoting head is you can aim it. It sits nice and flat on the bottom. You can aim it at any point you want. Let's say, for instance, you wanted to hit this spot. You just swivel the head up and put your light exactly where you want it. For instance, if I wanted to hit that little red tag over there, same thing. Just spin my head around. So I like that. If I want to hit this spot up here, same thing. So that pivoting head lets you adjust the light to exactly where you want it. And I just thought that was funny that I read so many reviews that people complained about that pivoting head and having no practical use. I find it incredibly useful. I use this light all the time. It's been a good light. People also complained about dropping it and breaking the bulb. I've had mine for 4 years. I've never replaced the bulb. I did buy a spare bulb, but again, I've never had to replace it. So I don't know. Unless you're dropping your tools often, maybe that's a problem, but it hasn't been for me. One of the next things I bought after buying this kit was a 1-hour charger. It comes with a little 4-hour charger that kind of slips over the top here, and it's adequate, but I wanted something more. I wanted to be able to charge batteries much faster. I knew I was going to add batteries to it, but I also knew that there was a highly likely chance that I would upgrade from the NiCads to the lithium ions. So I didn't want to buy a quick charger that only worked on the NiCads. They do sell them, so be careful if you're going that route. I wanted a quick charger that would work for both. So that's what this is. This was one of the next things I bought for the kit. Just 110 plug-in, dual chemistry, lithium ion and NiCad, and it's a great charger. It charges both the batteries in an hour or less, and I've never had any issues with it. I think it's very reasonably priced. One of the next things I bought that was just kind of on a whim was this little light here. It's just a neon tube light. It has kind of a protective little boot if you were to drop it, although I've never dropped it. Runtime's pretty good on it. I just bought it because I really, I happened to be walking through Sears and I had a $20 bill in my pocket, and I thought, we'll buy it. It's like $16.99 add-on tool. I really didn't have any kind of practical use for it until last night. We had a power outage, and the power was up for about 2.5 hours. My boys, they're young. They don't understand why you flip on a switch and nothing works. So I ran out to the garage and I grabbed this along with my lithium-ion battery and plugged her in. And of course, you know, it's a tube light, so it takes a few seconds to get warmed up. But I set this on the corner of their bunk bed, and surprisingly enough, it illuminated the entire room. It was really impressive. I mean, so much so that we sat down and played with Legos for about an hour and a half. And it was plenty bright enough in there to, you know, tell what colors are what and what parts are what. And anyhow, long story short, we played with Legos in the dark with this thing. And it did very well. And I was so impressed with using that last night that I actually plan on going down to my Sears probably Friday and picking up another one just for the next power outage so we can have more than one. But very impressed with that light. Glad I bought it for 17 bucks. I think it's worth it. One of the things I also bought on a whim was this little radio. Same, it works on, again, all the C3 tools work on NiCad or lithium ion. But same battery, all these tools are on the same batteries. It is a digital tuner. It's like a little 4-inch speaker. It actually has fine sound quality. There's nothing wrong with it. It sounds really good. It has a mode switch. It has a orange backlit LCD screen. LCD backlit screen. Anyhow, it's digital. It has different modes for AM, FM. It also has a 7-band NOAA weather radio, which is really handy for me. I live on the coast and I actually listen to the NOAA weather radio quite often. On top of an auxiliary input here on the back, if you wanted to put your MP3 player in there, plug your phone into it, or you know, things like that, you can play through it. You just set it over to the input mode. For those of you that are really old, you can plug your Walkman into it. But and it has a neat little hook here to hang your MP3 player on, if your MP3 player happens to have a hook. But great radio, sounds great. It's like 26 bucks, and it is by far probably my most used tool. It's almost daily. If I'm in the garage, that guy's pretty much on all the time. Not too long after that, I picked up this. This is another C3. It's a 1/2-inch hammer drill. Basically, I just wanted to upgrade to be able to use my 1/2-inch bits, which is why I bought this. By sheer coincidence, it happened to be the hammer drill, which is real handy if you're drilling into, you know, concrete or setting redheads or things like that. It's a great feature. It works very well. Forward and reverse switch, just like on any drill. It has both vertical and horizontal leveling bubbles. Metal chuck, keyless, and it also has a ratcheting feature. I'm a millwright. I work at a wood mill, and we have Milwaukee, 18-volt Milwaukee at work. Same ratcheting chuck. And I don't know how common that is on cordless drills, but it's a nice feature. I've never had any drill bit slip in this. Round shank, you know, triangle shank, never had any slip. So I like that ratcheting feature on the clutch, or I'm sorry, on the chuck. Great drill. It came with a side mount handle, ambidextrous for left or right, as well as a pin stop for depth if you were drilling into concrete. Neither of which I use, but it did come with them. Great drill. Again, we have Milwaukee at my work. I would not hesitate to put this up against that Milwaukee, that 18-volt Milwaukee. And if it didn't beat it, it would be a really close second. And for the money at 1/3 the cost, if it didn't beat it and it came in a close second, I think it was well worth the money. It seems very well built. It seems like it's going to hold up without any issue. One of the next things that I bought was the Sawzall, and if you've looked into the C3 Sawzalls, you can tell the age of this one. It's older. The newer Sawzalls have a different design. They have like some mesh in here for the breather holes, a lot like the grinder does. Anyhow, so this is one of the first gen C3 Sawzalls. It has this trigger lockout. You can push from either side before you can activate the trigger, and I have tiny little hands, and that is kind of a pain in the butt. I've thought several times about bypassing that, getting rid of that safety because it's such a pain in the butt. But it is functional. You cannot operate the tool unless you intentionally take the safety off, which is what it was designed for. Again, it has toolless blade change here on the side, and there's an Allen wrench on the side here. If you want to adjust this foot for depth, you can bring it out or in. Great Sawzall, plenty of power, never had an issue with it. It comes with two blades, one for metal, one for wood. It does have little LED lights here in the front. Great Sawzall, it really is. I haven't had any issues with it. And the price is what really surprised me on this, 44 bucks, I think. You can't touch another cordless Sawzall on the market for that. I think the Milwaukee runs around 200, 220-ish or so for the 18 volt. So 40 bucks, you can go through quite a few of these before you bought a Milwaukee. But again, I've had this for years and never an issue with it. One of the next things that I bought was the Jigsaw. I am really impressed with this Jigsaw. It works very well. I'll plug it in here. Variable speed, just like the Sawzall. It also has a laser here on the front. I'm sure, I don't know, there you can see it. Anyhow, for straight cuts. And I thought, when I first got this, I thought, well, that's kind of a dumb thing to put on a jigsaw, you would be amazed at how often you actually use that laser with a jigsaw when it's there. This is my quick little grab and go to saw. If I've got a little chunk of something I want to cut, I grab this every time. It has 3 different settings here on the side for, what do you want to call that? A reset. Not only does it go up and down, but you can also set how aggressively it'll cut into the wood. I usually leave it set on straight up and down, which is 0. Again, it has the same funky trigger lock that the Sawzall has. Again, I don't like that, and again, I've thought about disabling it several times. I just haven't. It also has a support bearing back here, which isn't really all too common. Support bearing for the back of your blade, so when you're pushing hard, it supports the blade. And it has toolless blade change. Lift up on here, slip your blade in and out, and onboard blade storage in the back. As well as it's capable of adjusting for bevel cuts, and there's a little Allen wrench here on tool storage. So loosen the 2 Allens in the bottom to adjust your bevel. Again, I've never played with that. I just make straight cuts with it. Well, flat cuts, I should say. Great Jigsaw. I love the Jigsaw. It works very well. Never had an issue with it. It's kind of a spendier tool. I want to say it was around 65 bucks, but I think it's very well worth it. It feels very well made, and I like it. One of the next things I bought was this Inflator. It's got a green LCD backlit screen, and it's got a tire chuck on one end just to plug onto the tire of the vehicle or what have you. It has a few different adapters, some volume adapters for like blowing up air beds, although this was made more for pressure than volume. It will do the job, it just takes a lot longer. As well as some ball needles and things like that. One of the really neat features about this that I really like is you can preset your pressure. Let's say I went out in the dunes and I've been playing in the truck and I get back on the street and I want to air my tires up to drive home on. I can preset up to 40 psi. So we'll set it, let's say, for 32 psi, squeeze the trigger, turn the lock on, and walk away. And it'll automatically pump up to whatever your preset psi is, 32, and then shut off. Disconnect, move to the next tire, same thing, re-trigger, lock it, and walk away. I really like that feature. I really do. That is such a neat feature. I've heard some people talk about the gauge being off and never by the same amount, and in fact, one review that I was reading was from the racing go-kart world, and tire pressure is everything in that. They can tell the difference between a quarter pound of air in each of their tires. So, that guy was expressing displeasure with the fact that it was off, never by the same amount. It could be a half a pound, a pound. For me, in a vehicle, if it's off a pound, I don't care. Just so it gets the tire there, I don't care. That sort of thing. I've never actually tested it, so maybe it was just his. I don't know if it's all of them. But again, it's been close enough I've never had to question it. So, great tool. Not that expensive. I want to say it was around 49 bucks. One of the next things that I bought was, and this was kind of hard to find. I knew I wanted one, and I had to actually dig pretty hard to figure out the part number and get it ordered. This is another quik charger. The difference is this one is 12 volt, plugs into your vehicle, and it's multi-chemistry, so it'll charge the NiCads and the lithium ions from the lighter socket in my vehicle. I really wanted one of these. And I had to dig to find the part number for it and order it because they just don't advertise it. It's out there, it's just hard to find. And this was about 40 bucks, 45 bucks, something like that. Very cool item, and I like that a lot. During the course of buying all of this stuff, of course, I did buy another NiCad battery, and then I started getting into the lithium ions. I have 2 NiCads, 1 lithium ion. We'll get into that in a second. The last one that I bought just recently, and the one that I am incredibly excited about, is the grinder. C3 4.5-inch grinder. I love this grinder. I've been waiting literally 4 years for Craftsman to come out with a C3 4.5-inch angle-head grinder, and it just got released, I want to say, last month. And as soon as I found out, I ran out and ordered one. And anyhow, it has a safety right up here in the top of the handle, so you can still use it one-handed, and I love that feature. Again, I'm a fabricator and welder, and I use grinders every day at work. So I have quite a bit of experience with them as far as torque, power, and RPM. This comes with a side handle, 3-position side handle. I'm right-handed, so it's on the left for me. Obviously, if you were left-handed, probably be on the other side, and there's a hole for it there. And then if you're really weird, there's a hole in the top here. I've never seen anybody use a grinder like that, but there's an option if you want. It comes with a grinding wheel. Because it's standard arbor, you can use flap disc, you can use zip cut wheels or cut off wheels, standard threads, so cut brushes will thread right on, that sort of thing. The handle is incredibly bulky, but by design. One of the neat things about it is that it has onboard tool storage for removing your wheels. It just slides into the end of the handle. I have another corded grinder that has this same feature, and for having the tool storage on the tool, it makes up for the bulky handle. This thing, I want to say, free spin is like 6,500 RPM, and your average plug-in 4.5-inch is around 11,000 RPM. So the RPM is substantially lower than a plug-in grinder. I would assume that Craftsman purposely did that to increase torque. Sure, you could get this one to spin at 11,000 RPM, but your torque would suffer and it would seem like a weak grinder. So I'd assume, just by gear ratio in here, they probably purposefully lowered RPM to increase torque. And again, I've dogged this into some metal pretty hard, and I cannot tell a difference between it and my standard plug-in grinder as far as power. If I were to just shove with all I've got, I could probably stop the wheel, but I could do that with my Milwaukee plug-in grinder as well, so that's not saying much. Again, the power seems good. The wheel that comes with it is adequate, but not impressive. It's a wheel. Yeah, it grinds, but there's a lot better ones out there. Sage, for instance, would be a lot better than this. But it's functional. It'll get you going if you don't happen to have a cupboard of them like I do. Again, I do like this safety feature here, this lockout. That's handy. I wish the rest of my tools that had this goofy lockout, I wish they had this style, but they don't, so it is what it is. Of course, it has the same old C3. You can see battery gauge here, yellow, tell you the battery's half dead. Plug it into the tool and it'll light up in the handle and tell you, same thing. I love this grinder. I read every review that's online right now about them, and some say, oh, it's wonderful, and some say, oh, it's terrible. It's all in, I suppose, the eye of the beholder, perception. I bought this grinder knowing that it would not replace my corded grinders. I knew it was not going to replace them, but it did fill a void. I have 3 grinders, 3 corded grinders. One set up with a flap wheel, one set up with a zip cut disc, and one set up with a grinding stone. And depending on what I'm doing at the time will depend on which grinder I grab and drag out a cord. And that's where this really fits in, really has a niche. If I have something that I'm going to do, a 10-minute grinding project, I'll run and grab this one first, because I know I won't have to drag out a cord, number one. It'll be ready to go right now in 5 seconds versus unlocking, getting out my corded one, undoing a cord, rolling out a cord, and plugging it in. I can grab this and go, and the job's done, and move on. If you were to have 2 or 3 lithium-ion batteries, you could probably charge them fast enough to keep it going, on a long-term project. But that wasn't my goal. Basically, this is just to get the job done. If I have some sort of short job, within an hour job or something like this, I'll grab this one. Been a great grinder, no issues with it. Batteries. I upgraded to lithium-ion batteries from the NiCads. And I say upgraded, I only have one, but I'm working on a few more. According to Craftsman, the lithium-ion batteries outlast the NiCads. I want to say these full-size lithium-ions are about 3 amp hour, and I think the full-size NiCads are about 1.8 or so. So you can see just right there, that tells you that it'll outlast the NiCad. But one of the features that I was unaware of until I got these batteries is shelf life. I have a habit of charging up my batteries when I'm done with them and putting them away in the drawer. And let's say I don't get back for maybe 2-3 weeks before I open that drawer and grab out another tool and go to work. That's where the lithium ions really, really make a big difference, and a noticeable difference. The NiCads will be half drained, half dead from just sitting in there. The lithium ions will be exactly where I left them. Like if I were, for instance, this battery's yellow, it's half charged. I know I could put it in my drawer and come back in 2 weeks, and it'll still be yellow. And this guy will be dead. So shelf life, that's one thing that really improved with the lithium ions. Now Craftsman did just introduce a new lithium ion called the XCP, which boasts a 4 amp hour battery in the same package, and supposedly 20% torque increase in drills and things like that. And I do plan on getting some XCPs and trying them out. A lot of people complain about the Craftsman tools not being contractor grade or what have you. I really don't see it. I mean, again, I'm a millwright. I work with Milwaukee is what we have at work, and I wouldn't hesitate to put the half-inch hammer drill against our Milwaukee. Same with the Sawzall. I'd put that up against the Milwaukee again, as far as torque, power, battery longevity, quality. It just seems like a fine tool. I have no complaints with these tools. They work fine for me. Again, I'm fortunate in that I could have started with any toolkit I chose. I could have went with Milwaukee, I could have went with Ryobi, I could have went with, there's a bunch of them. Anyhow, I could have picked any cordless set I wanted. But after such a positive experience with my first $30 set, it just got me hooked on it. The price is incredibly reasonable for the quality of the tool that you get. I do recommend it. Again, there's going to be people out there that are just going to slam me for this and say that they're not good and they're this and they're that, and that's fine. It's all, in my opinion, it's personal preference. If you like them, use them. If you don't, don't. But again, it's a great set. I've been incredibly happy with it. This, of course, this is the pride and joy. This is the newest setup. And we'll go ahead and plug it in real quick. I'll grab the camera and I'll just run over and grind for a second so you can see it in action. But 6,500 RPM free spin. And if anybody's wondering, of course I have safety glasses on. Now this is a brick of titanium. I don't know if you're familiar with titanium or not, but neat stuff, bright white sparks. So, one-hand operation here. And again, this is titanium, so I could grind for a month of Sundays and I'll never make a dent in it. But there it is. There's a little, review of my Craftsman tools and what I think of them. And honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I do the exact same thing. They've been a great set of tools. I love them, and I do recommend them. So please rate and comment.